Get him, Sam. Ooh, your little Goldilocks and my ex-fiancé.
Get ready for the ultimate battle of the exes. Meg Ryan, Matthew Broderick, Addicted to Love, Rated R, now play.
Welcome to ACM's Vault of Cult. This episode we will be chatting about 1997 romantic comedy, dark romantic comedy, starring Meg Ryan and Matthew Broderick, Addicted to Love. James Rowe from King Street Cinema will be joining me to chat about this movie. He's never seen it before. I don't think he was that interested in watching it, but I've picked it and he's got along with it because this is a film I really liked when it came out. Watched it quite a few times when I was younger and hadn't watched it for a few years, so I'm refreshing it myself. Should it be a cult classic? Is it underrated, or am I just wrong? Is it just nostalgia clouding my mind? We'll find out, because James, as I say, hasn't seen it before. I'm going to rewatch it and then we're going to have a chat about the movie. Just give you a bit of a backstory on how I saw this film and kind of why I like it so much, I suppose. Growing up in my sort of mid-teens to early 20s, most Saturday mornings me and a group of friends would go up to the cinema. We'd get bus up and there were sort of £2 screenings of kids' films in the morning. We went to a lot of them. Then as we got older, we go to daytime showings of more adult films like this one. I saw so many in that era. The Craft, which we've reviewed before, was one that sticks in my mind. One I do remember was we saw George in the Jungle quite a few times, well, at least twice, because it was really cheap. We enjoyed it because it was stupid. That's one doesn't really qualify for this podcast because it done quite well, and I think the reviews are actually okay for it. Whereas this movie, it bombed, and the reviews were low to average. Reason I wanted to see it, this was a film I picked, and my friends weren't that keen on seeing it, but I think they kind of liked it. I remember one of my mates really liked it, and the others were like, well, it's better than I thought. At that time, especially, I was a big comedy fan. I really liked the early work of Tom Hanks, one of which was Sleepers in Seattle, which I know is a romantic comedy, but I liked that movie. Meg Ryan was in that. She was also in When Harry Met Sally, which I liked. She had a few films that were probably too on the romantic side and less comedy for me. And well, being a lad in the 90s, I wanted to see a Meg Ryan film. It was kind of helped, I suppose, with Matthew Broderick in it. Not a massive fan of him, but I do really like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and to this day, that's one of my favourite kind of teen movies. And he'd recently been in The Cable Guy, which is a film I think's majorly underrated and something I should probably do for this podcast at some point. It's a matter of finding someone who hasn't seen it and who wants to. So to me, this film looked like it would be a laugh, be a pleasant comedy, I suppose. And I wasn't disappointed. I thought it had some laughs. It was that era of Friends and that sort of thing, and I sort of saw it as a darker take of that. And also with this movie, after seeing it, I saw it as the traditional romantic comedies, and then there's the happy ending. I saw this as a movie after the happy ending, when things go wrong and what could happen. So I rewatched it and we'll speak to James about our thoughts. I'll play a little clip from the film as well, because we started the show there with a very short trailer. It was a TV spot. So yeah, this is a clip, and then I'll be with James to chat about the movie.
Define love.
Why?
Because every other word out of your mouth is love. And I'd like to know what it is, this magical idea of yours. Define it.
Well, it's like, I don't know, it's like all your life you walk around with this feeling of emptiness in your stomach. You feel completely hollow. And when you're in love, you feel not hollow. It's like without it, there's nothing. A shell. A cavernous emptiness. You don't get it. You can't define it.
When I was a kid, my father had this dog. It started to get all weak and sickly, so he took it to the vet. The doctor examines it and says a maggot must have laid eggs in the dog's butt. He says there's not much they can do. The baby maggots have crawled up, and now they've started to grow, and eventually they're going to eat the dog alive from the inside out. He says it should be put to sleep because it's an old dog anyway. But Father won't do it. He takes it home, he puts it on the bed, he starts to reach up into the dog, just picking out the maggots with his fingers one by one. Takes him all night, but he gets every last one. That dog outlived my father. That's love, Sam.
James, welcome.
Hello, Randy.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
It's been a while.
Has it?
Oh, yeah, it's been about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
We've done
That's
some
crazy.
King Street cinema podcasts, but we've not done a
Vault of Cult. That's right.
I
Yeah,
can't
wow.
even think of the last film.
I did have a run of them, didn't I? I did
Yeah.
a few. I can't remember what. Yeah, you're right. It was a while ago.
Yeah. But, I can't remember the last one, but we're back with the 1997 dark rom-com,
Yeah.
Addicted to Love.
Yes.
Which had you heard much about this film? We'll do a...
No, not really. Other than I'd seen the poster. I'm
Yeah.
sure. I'd seen like the video in the video shop back in the day. Well, video shops and that.
Yeah.
They definitely tried to sell it. You know, it wasn't something that was completely obscure. You know.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, other than like looking at the poster, basically knowing what you you get from the poster,
Yeah,
no,
that makes sense.
hadn't seen it obviously, and yeah, didn't have any interest in seeing it.
Okay. So, two 90s stars sort of, who were probably bigger in the 80s, Meg Ryan and Matthew Broderick. I know you're not a massive fan of Matthew Broderick.
Nope.
Thoughts on him, quickly?
Overrated.
Yeah.
And got away with a crime.
Okay. So, yeah, Google that one. We're not going to dwell on that. Meg Ryan, much of a fan?
Yeah, she's alright, and she's pretty good. Always solid. You
Solid,
know?
yeah. Yeah, and this is one of her, sort of mid, I would say late, but mid rom-com. She was the rom-com queen of the 90s.
Yes.
I think it was her trying to get away from it, but not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It's playing safe, but not playing safe. It's a difficult one, but we'll talk about that later. We'll just talk about the plot, shall we?
Yes.
So I'll refer to the characters in it by the actors' names, I think.
Okay.
It's just easier. But Matthew Broderick lives in a small town, has been dating, looks like sort of since high school, his girlfriend, Kelly Preston.
Yes.
And she goes away to the city to work, I believe. And he loves his town, and even though he claims to love her, doesn't go with her, stays in town. But they're going to try a long-distance relationship. Within literally, it seems like a day, she's left him for someone else,
Yeah.
and then he decides to go. No, he doesn't. He doesn't know it's for someone else. She's broken up with him.
That's right.
So he decides to go to the city. Now he's been dumped, and try to salvage the relationship.
Yeah.
When he gets there, he sees that she's with somebody else.
Yeah.
So moves across the road and stalks them.
Yeah.
Bumps into Meg Ryan, who is stalking the man who is with his ex.
That's right.
And they team up to do some double stalking
That's right.
and play some practical jokes.
Revenge.
For Matthew Broderick seems to think that he'll win her back.
Yes, that's his
goal.
idea.
That's
his goal. Yeah.
To sabotage the relationship and win her back in true 90s style.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was like. And Meg Ryan says she just wants revenge.
Just wants to hurt him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Antoine, the actor's name. Do you know the actor's name?
Okay. So it's something like, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's like Cheeky Cario.
Who is a massive actor.
Yes.
French.
So many
character
movies.
actor, really.
So many films.
I think we've got 135 credits on IMDb.
Yeah.
Probably most well known to our audience, I suppose, for GoldenEye and Bad Boys.
Yes.
Guessing he was the villains in it.
Yeah. Do you know what? I haven't seen either of those in so many years, can't remember, but I'm sure he probably was.
Yeah, probably is.
He was also in Nikita, which I remember liking very much as a teenager, French film.
Luc Besson.
Yeah, Luc Besson. And The Bear, which I like very much. It's a great film. He's not in it very much because it's mostly just bears in it.
Yeah.
But he is
I
in it.
remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Should we talk about the plot? I mean, basically, they the friendship between Broderick and Meg Ryan develops.
Yes. As obviously it would.
Yeah. And they end up just playing It's like pranks on the.
Yeah, well, the idea, like you said, the idea is to get a certain kind of revenge on the guy, and for Matthew Broderick's character to make Linda, that's his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, realise that he's awful, the Frenchman, and that she should go back with him.
Yeah. One of the probably more well-known scenes is there's a street performer with a monkey, and the monkey goes up and kisses a random person.
Yes.
They put lipstick on the monkey, so he goes home with lipstick.
Yes, on his collar.
On his collar, so she gets... and that one fails, doesn't it? He explains the story and she believes him.
Yeah, because it's probably, though sounds really random, it's something that everyone is seeing in the park. So, all he's got to do is go, right, let's go to the park and we'll see the monkey doing the show, because it's something clearly that the guy and the monkey do on a regular basis. Yeah. So he could get away, that one should be fighting.
And later on she does see the performance.
Yeah, so, exactly, that's how she's...
He's a chef. Broderick ends up working in the kitchen for him as a dishwasher, so he can get more involved and more freaky, more stalkery. Yeah,
these elements of it really upset me in ways that I'm going to try to be very kind to the film.
You didn't like it? What?
I did not like this. Okay, we just get that out of the way.
I am shocked.
Right. We just get that out of the way first.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of film I would generally like anyway. Don't generally like romantic comedies. There are a few, though, in my history of watching them that I very much enjoyed. So it's not like I just hate them outright. Even one starring Meg Ryan, in fact.
You like When
Harry Met Sally is a fantastic film, hilarious. But yeah, this is, to me, so typical, so many elements to it that are just in loads of movies of this type, which are just forgettable and you just don't really care and you move on, unless they're the kind of genre that you like and you just eat them all up and love them all. Because even though we did mention that this is a sort of meant to be briefly mentioned, it's like a black comedy, it's a sort of a darker version, or meant to be, it's really not. By 90s standards,
this is when it came out, it was sort of sold as this darker comedy. And I think when I first saw it, it did seem that. I mean, I'd seen, say, While You Were Sleeping, Sleepers in Seattle, which was Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
These sort of PG ones.
Yes.
Which were very commercial at the time. It is a lot darker than them.
Oh, of course,
but then when you look at, say, a 15 certificate one, When Harry Met Sally, some Woody Allen ones, it's not actually much darker.
No, not really. I suppose, I mean, the motives are dark, of course, and that might be what, the part of it that you go, oh yeah, that's a bit, when you really think about it, if you were doing that, if a person was doing that in real life, that's stuff that get you locked up, no trouble,
Well, the way this film was made is very 90s, right? I can't understand why something like Friends isn't seen as a dark comedy. Some of the motives in that.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Completely, yeah.
So,
it's very similar in a lot of ways to Friends, in a way.
And what doesn't work, and I do still enjoy it, is Anton's character is only dislikable for like 10 minutes until you get to know him.
Yes.
And it tries to get you on side with Matthew Broderick, and that's where... I'm not actually criticising his performance. I think it's possibly the way it's written, because he plays this pathetic man. He does that quite well, almost like he is a pathetic man.
Yeah.
Not saying that. Don't quote me on that.
I know.
But there's nothing about his character which makes me take his side.
No.
Nothing at all, because I don't feel sorry for him.
Not at all.
If he really loved her, he'd have gone with her, is something I think.
But even so, let's say, right, so the idea is, like, the plot beginnings of the sort of, like, how it begins and everything is that he loves his life, he loves where he lives, he's lived there all his life, he loves his job, he's got a great job as an astronomer, and he's great at it, clearly. That's all laid out in the first minute of the film. It doesn't, no sort of getting to know anybody, it's like, right, this is what he does, he's really good at it, he loves where he lives, he loves his life, and now his girlfriend's leaving. I completely understand why someone in that position would be like, actually, no, okay, I'm going to stay. Right? Yeah. It's a sort of 50-50. And I get that. So either way, if he went with her, cool. If he didn't, fine. But learning what he learns and then behaving in the way that he does. It's just ridiculous. It's, you know, it's... I'm not even saying that people... I'm sure people have behaved like this in real life, which is kind of scary. But it is... Yeah, it's like, yes, pathetic. He's behaving in a really, you know... Look, you've got a really nice life. Clearly you like where you live. What's wrong with that? All right, your girlfriend's left you. All right? I don't know. You got to move on, right?
I think that the film could have worked better from the girlfriend's point of view, and then... it's this creepy stalker. You can still put jokes in there.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe he is watching her.
Yeah.
And he's not aware that she knows. And the film could work in that respect.
Yeah, sure.
And I think there'd be more humour there because you can feel for her. I mean, you know, if I was her, I'd move away. I'd have moved away years ago. So, you know, you know, it's... But you've got to think of when this was made.
Yeah.
And other characters and things. I mean, he's not far off Ross from Friends. It's that sort of, you know. And,
sure. He's
back then,
he's nerdy. He's nerdy.
Yeah.
You know, he's got that. You know, he's resourceful. You know, and he's got a lot of self-belief and determination.
Yeah.
And so, those are all sort of elements that you get with the sort of Ross type character, from Friends or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, it was the Meg Ryan character. I emphasise her more because it's just an anger thing. But the criticism of that is Meg Ryan, Sleepless in Seattle. I did write sort of in the scheme of her career where this was. It was just before You Got Mail, but she'd done a few films. I think trying to get away from the rom-com. She'd done Carriage Under Fire, which is like a war.
Oh yeah.
And Restoration, period drama with like Hugh Grant and Robert Downey Jr. and stuff. And almost, I think this was those two films weren't very successful. Come back to what you have been said, but with a little twist.
Yeah, sure, of course. I'm sure that's how it was.
But her being her, I find it hard to believe she's this hard-edged character. Which I know you see the softer side to her later. But from word go, she's too likeable. When she's trying to be mean and stuff, you're like, well, that's Meg Ryan.
Sure, I understand what you're saying.
And they've given her a little bit of a grungier look, but not a lot.
Yeah, it's true. And she rides a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Like a really sporty one, like a really fast one, you know. And she's sort of capable of I mean, she doesn't... Okay, so I'm giving everything away here, but she seems to be sort of almost like a Catwoman type character. Where she's sort of capable of getting in and out of places really easily. Or, say, you could say in real life, like cat burglar type character. You know, she dresses like one as well. Yeah. Sort of all in black or mostly in black. And it's got this sort of, that kind of idea that she can just sneak in and out of places. And apparently knows a lot about sound equipment as well, which doesn't go with her job, which is a photographer. So she's a photographer, doesn't recognise a camera obscura when she sees one. So that so he puts up a camera obscura, which is a way of looking into their apartment across from where he's now staying. So that projects onto the wall, so he can basically watch her. Yeah. And when Meg Ryan turns up, she looks at it, looks impressed, but doesn't look like she knows exactly what it is. And then we find out 2 minutes later she's a photographer, and that really bugged me.
That's hit you hard.
That did. It really did. I was like, you would know what that is.
Yeah. Unless she just wasn't very good at her job.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Or maybe she just know the history. I mean, maybe she's just a photographer, but doesn't really know the background of photography.
She's equivalent of nowadays. She'd be a photographer, but just use her iPhone.
Yeah, maybe that sort of thing. But anyway, that kind of it's stuff like that. This guy basically, I don't believe you're a photographer. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So maybe she wasn't. So we discussed that. Kelly Preston's character. I think there's not much to the character, but the best actual acting in the film is probably her when she's upset and things get going. But there's not much of it. Yeah,
she's in it very little.
Yeah, there's a lot of shots of her when you're looking in the apartment. I think those scenes I think look quite cool visually. Yes, the film looks good. I think.
We want to just talk about things like the aesthetic of it and stuff, it looks fine. It's a nicely put together movie. It runs at a nice pace for the majority of the film. Yeah, it's done all of those elements, the technical elements, well. There's nothing wrong with any of that. It's just story-wise, really, just don't care for it at all. Yeah. But yeah, you can look at it, that those parts are quite nice, and if you like New York, there's lots of lovely shots of New York, making New York look very pretty and excitable. I mean, touristy, making it look like, yes, if you've never been there, you should go.
Yeah.
Looks really fun, a good old time, which is, cool.
Yeah.
If you're into that sort of thing. So that's got that, again, Friends, 90s, very, nice sort of element to it. Nothing wrong with any of that.
Did you go back to not liking Broderick? Did his performance annoy you in this?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think I don't know. I like Ferris Bueller. He's a great film, but I can't say I'm particularly a fan of him. I don't dislike him. But in this role, I think if you'd have given it to, it could have gone to say a Ben Stiller or even Jim Carrey. That sort of who would have tried to. But it's like he steps back. He's just, I'm in a film. I should be in prison. But I'm in a film. And
yeah, well, I that's always been his style, though, isn't it? It's just Ferris Bueller all the time, even when he's nothing like Ferris Bueller. It's got this attitude of just not... Everything's cool. Everything's just going to be fine. I'm just going to do what I want. Woo.
So, do you think this would have worked? I don't think like a comedy star, Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Who is the one name I keep going to because of that era.
Oh, absolutely.
But maybe a Rick Moranis or someone like that who's sort of a nerdier character.
Yeah.
You might have felt more sorry for him because you don't feel sorry for Matthew Broderick at all.
I don't know if it's possible to feel sorry for a person that behaves in this way that he does in the film. I don't know. I'm sure there are. This is a huge debate that you could have with like loads of people around a table and talk about the motives and sort of the behaviour of these characters. And I'm sure you'd get quite a big split with people that think that it's over the top, but can understand and relate to the way that they behave.
Yeah, I mean, I think for an audience point of view, the film needs a villain and there isn't one.
Yeah.
So therefore, everyone's kind of written to be likeable. But then therefore, with him, he's not.
Yeah.
Antoine becomes it, I think, and I like when Broderick hates him, but Antoine doesn't hate him.
Yeah.
He actually begins to really like him, which annoys Broderick more, where there is a bit of comedy there. But it's a difficult one because the way it's written, maybe the bad person is meant to be Kelly Preston's character. I don't know.
No, I don't read it the same way you do. I don't. I think it's meant that they're all bad.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like everyone.
See, so they're all good, is what how I see it.
Well, I think that it's sort of the way I see it is that they are all sort of written to be flawed characters that you'd go, I don't agree with that, but we're going to go along with it, and by the end, we're going to see the positive sides of them all.
Yeah. But another way to look at it is, we've all had these revenge thoughts, these woe is me, which is a phrase I like to use.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a fantasy take on that. And the moral is, it's not worth it, to do this, which they do. They do these things that we've thought about, but it doesn't work.
But what happens at the end of this, which is what happens at basically the end of all rom-coms, is that everybody wins. And that what you learn is that there are other people, more fish in the sea, and also that this is the worst part because it what's the word? It gives a positive spin on your bad behaviour. That's not the word, but that's what I mean. That if you do a terrible thing, don't worry because at the end you'll get a good thing out of it.
You won't die.
Well, you won't die, but also you'll find love, and you'll be even happier than you were before.
The one flaw in this movie, and I have it in my notes, is the Hollywood sort of cliche of the friendship getting together. They get together.
Yes.
Obviously, Meg Ryan and Matthew Broderick get together in this film.
Yeah.
I think if it had ended with Kelly Preston's character and Anton, you see them happily together, and even if Broderick and Ryan were like in prison for some reason in the same cell, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could still be friends, and it could end with I don't know, maybe something happened and them two were isolated somewhere, not necessarily prison.
Yeah.
And then it's like and then they're plotting another way You know?
Oh, wow.
Or they bump
Yeah.
into an ex from before, and they're reminded of how they screwed them over, and then they're plotting that.
Right.
That would have been a darker, more funny ending, because it's not a
Yeah.
funny ending.
Yeah, well-
It's almost, it feels like to me, studio involvement maybe made this film a lighter film than it was intended.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
Yes.
And the original favourite, or the person they wanted to play the lead, was Johnny Depp.
Okay.
And if he was in it, I could see it going darker. Mm-hmm. Meg Ryan's character it was meant to be made in '93. Same director, even though this was his debut, and for various reasons, Madonna was supposed to play that character. I think Madonna isn't as good an actress as Meg Ryan at all.
No.
But I think they could have risked going darker with Madonna in it.
Maybe.
Because the director worked with her on Who's That Girl? Is that what it's called?
Oh, that's a movie.
Yeah, they were in it together.
Oh,
weren't
is
they? And I
right,
think on
Dun's
that,
in that.
he
Okay.
was talking about making this film with
Right.
her.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I think the cast, because of the likability of the two leads, they're like, oh well, everyone will want to see them get together. But as to sell the film, yeah. But also, I think the people who like the film might actually be the ones. It wasn't necessarily intended. The You've Got Mail fans.
Yeah.
And so if they went into this film and they'd be disappointed because it's quite a nasty film anyway, then they'd be even more disappointed if they didn't get together. And I don't think that's the point.
Yeah.
I don't think they should have got together.
No. Yeah.
And,
Not at all.
that's my major flaw of it, because I find it entertaining. It flies by. I like the look of it. I like the soundtrack. I do like the cast. Probably the weakest being Matthew Broderick. Some of my favourite moments are when Meg Ryan's mum appears.
Yeah, we have Maureen Stapleton, who is an extraordinarily famous actor, Oscar winner. You know, nice to see her in a movie. If you like big budget movies, you would have seen her in Cocoon.
Yes.
But yeah, she won an Oscar for Reds, which is a masterpiece film made by Warren Beatty. But yeah, it was really nice to see her in it. That made it a little less awful. In my opinion. Best part of the film.
Okay. Those scenes I found amusing.
Yeah.
Was it the same monkey as Friends? That was a question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I don't know. Looks it, probably.
Yeah.
Is it?
I don't know. I can't. There's not actually much information
Yeah, this is
on the
true.
film.
Looking it up, you couldn't really find too much about it. Much trivia,
Yeah.
sadly.
We saw how much it made, which is 35 million.
Yeah, that's worldwide.
Worldwide, but I don't know the budget. I mean, it was made, going back to Broderick, it was made the year after The Cable Guy, which is a famous bomb, a dark comedy that didn't work. I like it. I don't know, did you like The Cable Guy?
I didn't at the time. I've only seen it that once. I want to see it again, because people say it's definitely one of those films that people got wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's flawed, but I do think it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Broderick pretty much plays the same character, but I think he's more annoying in that than he is in this.
Right.
Carey, I think, is great in it. But anyway, it's a Ben Stiller film, and that film had a budget of 47 million and made 102 million, and is considered like this massive flop. I mean, that's not a huge hit.
No.
But it's not lost money.
No, it's just about broken even that with that. Just over. So they wouldn't have been happy, obviously, because it's one of the biggest stars of the day.
Yeah, well, I think that was the film that famously Jim Carrey got a huge paycheck, like 20 million.
Yeah, well, he would have, because
so
he'd had like 4 hits.
Yeah,
in a row,
so nearly half that film's budget is on him. But I'd have thought after that, unless Broderick had signed on to that before this,
probably
he wouldn't have wanted to do another darkish comedy.
Yeah, he was probably signed on already, I would have thought.
You know, and we mentioned Meg Ryan. You've Got Mail came out a year later.
That's right.
With a $65 million budget, which I don't know where that went.
on the two leads, probably.
But that made 250 million.
Yeah.
So the fact that made so much more than this, I mean, is that Tom Hanks is doing?
Both.
You know,
probably. I mean, you put them both together again for the third time. Sleepless in Seattle was huge, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, it's going to work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless it's awful, which it wasn't ever going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to do really well.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you get people who've worked well together on something, and then if the film is that bad, I mean, an example I can think of, not a rom-com, But Will Ferrell and what's the other chap? They done Step Brothers together.
Yeah.
Then they done that Holmes and Watson.
Oh yeah.
And the reviews were terrible, and it really bombed. That proves that people didn't just go.
But didn't people hate Step Brothers?
It's become a big People
I know it's a big cult movie, but at that time, didn't people like go, "What the hell is this?"
People liked it.
Oh really? Oh, okay. Right.
Did you like it?
Yes, but in a sort of this is ridiculous kind of way. It's not even really that funny. It's just
I can relate to those
outrageous.
But yeah, I mean, there was call for them to do a sequel and all that, and then they've done something else in it. But yeah, I mean, also going back to director, I mean,
Griffin Dunn, who's a fine actor.
Yeah. But if you look at what he's directed,
After Hours, that was great, wasn't it?
Obviously American.
American Werewolf in London, but After Hours, where he plays the lead, is a good movie. Yes,
he's a good actor, still acting today.
Yeah.
Last thing I can think of, he was in from the French Dispatch, the Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
But he's directed off and on since.
Yes.
Two of his bigger films, The Accidental Husband, which I haven't seen, Colin Firth, another romantic comedy, and he'd done Practical Magic.
Yeah, the year after this one, which I'd seen when watching this one, Addicted to Love. I didn't know that he had directed Practical Magic, even though I'd seen it. Yeah. And when I was watching Addicted to Love, that Practical Magic just kept coming into my head, and they're not similar films other than being romantic comedies. The premise and everything's completely different, but something about it, that's directors. It's just something was there, and I was like, oh, all right, that's what it is. It's the same director then. That was the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have only seen that film once. I don't remember particularly liking it.
No, I didn't enjoy it.
But I don't think that done well. But that's one everybody seems to like.
Yeah, I suppose that's nice. It's a nice film. This one isn't.
Yeah,
Addicted to Love, but Practical Magic is a nice film.
Yeah,
I think, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember. I mean, it's one that's always compared to The Craft, and I like The Craft, but it's different. It's just witches.
Yeah, it's just witches, but it's not really like The Craft.
No. So directing wise, I don't think he's had a real big hit.
No,
but he still acts, and I think it's something he does because he enjoys filmmaking and the process. So he probably directs when he can, or if he sees a specific project that he wants to.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's asked from time to time, because like I say, he's good. He's a good director. He's solid. The films look fine. They don't look, they don't look like something that's jarring or annoying to watch. He's got flair.
Do you think the problem with this film might be the script then?
Yeah, well, yes.
Okay. So
ultimately, yes, because what's going on in the film is poor. Yeah. So what's written on the page is probably not very good either.
Cool. So that's blame Robert Gordon.
I'd say Robert Gordon is a fault.
Whose other credits include?
I'm Matthew Broderick, obviously.
Yeah. Other credits include Men in Black 2.
Yeah.
And the Unfortunate Events film.
Lemony Snicket's.
And Galaxy Quest, which everyone loves, don't they?
This is interesting because
massive Three Amigos rip-off. Galaxy Quest.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, Galaxy Quest is fine. It's a good film. It's much better than this one, but it's not great. But it's good. I think Galaxy Quest. There's two things about Galaxy Quest. Either people either love it or go whatever, and I don't think either of those is correct.
I think it's alright.
Yeah, it's a fun, fine film with a poor ending. And that there's similarities in that with Addicted to Love, I suppose. In that Addicted to Love does have some funny moments, or at least tries to.
Yeah.
And then has a just annoying ending.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, there's certain things that I do see it as a subtle spoof of rom-coms. That's my take on it. And it's of that era.
I think that is what is meant to be happening in it. I do think you're right, but I just don't feel it at all.
It's too much. It's too much what it is spoofing. It's not spoofy enough.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
But I think when it came out, it did seem. I rewatched. I still enjoyed it. I was waiting for certain bits to happen and blah blah. But I think it seemed more of a spoof in that era because there was so much. You don't get many rom-coms now. You get more the British ones opposed to the American. I can't think because back then there were certain actors and actresses who were always in rom-coms. You don't really get that now.
No, the duos.
So it certainly doesn't. It just doesn't seem like a spoof of them. because we're not surrounded by them as much.
Sure.
So it's definitely of its day. But
Yes.
I mean, I think with a bit of better promotion, he could have done better. And I'm surprised how badly it done, especially considering Meg Ryan was in it.
Yeah.
But then having a look around that time, she did do a few other rom-coms. Like there was one, is it Prelude to a Kiss with Alec Baldwin? That's kind of forgotten. French Kiss.
Yeah,
with,
French. Yeah.
I think that was a hit.
That was Kevin Kline.
Kevin
wasn't it?
Kline.
Yeah.
And then there was IQ with Tim Robbins.
Yeah, where it has Einstein in
Yeah,
it. What's the matter?
Which I remember quite liking, but that's sort of forgotten, and that didn't do very well at all. So yeah, I mean it's.
I remember that one.
Yeah, but also, I think she didn't know where her career was going. I don't think she wanted to keep repeating it, and then, like I said earlier, was drawn back into it with this. Then a year later, then You Got Mail, and then she didn't actually do much after that. I mean, Kate and Leopold, and then her career just sort of.
I think she's a classic example of sadly female actors running out of roles being given to them. Basically, get to a certain age, and that's it. You're known for doing this. You're now too old to do this. You now don't have a career.
Yeah, and then sometimes 20 years later they'll play a mum or grandmother and get an Oscar.
Yeah. It's a real shame. It really is, because she's a fine actor, really.
Yeah.
You know, every time you see her, she's good, solid.
Yeah.
You know, so it is a real shame that she just weren't.
I did
clearly
watch
not been given any roles for her.
recently a film that wasn't very good called Against the Rope. She done probably 7 years after this, where she played a boxing manager. And she was really good. The film's flawed as hell. It's not a great film. But she was good and carried the whole film.
Right.
That's another attempt of playing someone.
Yeah, sure.
You know, she could have been Erin Brockovich or something like that as well. But yeah, it dried up. And I think stuff in her personal life, which got into the press with, was it Russell? She was married to Dennis Quaid, then went off with Russell Crowe. And that, people hated that. And
Did they?
Like, they did, yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, that was news at the time. But Broderick's career as well. I mean,
shouldn't have one, but anyway.
After this has been The Producers.
Yes.
Other than that, and he was in. He's like the. Apart from The Producers, I remember him doing several remakes and just they were rubbish. Stepford Wives.
Yes.
I mean, Godzilla wasn't great, was it?
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a year later. There's a few other like remakes he was in. I'm just like, what are you doing? And now I think he's kind of slowed down and stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, I don't really follow his career, and he's not a name that comes. Is not the big draw that he once was.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if he was ever a big draw though.
Well, you say that, but why is he sort of starring in films that are at least pushed to be big hit movies?
But with something like Godzilla, you don't need a name.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in Inspector Gadget. That was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad. So yeah,
I mean,
I suppose.
but they just think of the sort of his early on. He's Ferris Bueller, and that's a big deal. And I mean, on the back of that, he got a lot of work for a far too extensive period of time.
Yeah, but I generally think up until this, which is nearly 15 years later, he's still playing off that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think he's had a big hit since then. Really.
No.
I mean, he was in films like The Freshman and stuff like that, but nothing big. And I think this film was sold more as a Meg Ryan film than a Matthew Broderick film.
Probably. I wouldn't say that's wrong.
Yeah.
But I would say though that I think a lot of the films that he was in those were films that they wanted to be success. Like they weren't ever thinking, oh, this is something that's going to go under the radar. I don't think. I mean, I just think they all just failed. And I'm not even saying that to say that it's him necessarily is the reason for all of that. But I do think that is the case. You know, films like Ladyhawke, for example. I'm pretty sure Ladyhawke was made to be a big movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like a sort of a tiny little film. It was a big budget, big names in it.
It was a big director as well.
Yeah. It was Richard Donner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't, these kind of things aren't done, sort of just off the cuff.
Yeah.
You know, he was clearly thought of as, he's going to be a big draw. He's going to sell tickets.
Yeah, I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either.
It's a shame. Well, he isn't. But but let's talk about the. Obviously, we said what the film done money wise. Do you think that's justified? Do you think it deserves? Probably
I don't know. When it comes to things like this, no, probably not. It probably should have done better.
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, on Letterboxd, it's got 2.7 out of 5.
Right.
Rotten Tomatoes. I was going to Letterboxd, so 2.7 out of 5, but 76 people.
Yeah.
Have given it half a star, the lowest star.
Oh, that's not good.
And 90-something have given it 5 stars.
Right.
And it's got like well over 1,000 3 stars.
Right.
So it's that sort of people. That's all right.
It's that sort of area, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's a 5-star film, but I certainly don't think it's a half-star film.
No. No, certainly not. It's not. No.
Yeah. So 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. That doesn't count as critics. And 6.1 on IMDb. So it's it's not far rating wise. I mean, you've got Mail's only got 6.8.
Yeah.
So it's not far off of Meg Ryan's sort of popularity, but it might be that people like me who like when it came out were like, yeah, it's different. It's and review it on memory.
Yeah.
If I reviewed this film on memory, I'd give it a higher than memory watching it. I wouldn't give it a low rating now. But if it was just like, right, what would you give that film? And I hadn't seen it for 5 years, 10 years, I'd be like, yeah, that's and then you rewatch it, I'm just doing noises now.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good impression of you.
Yeah.
And me. And but I want to say a little thing on the scene. There's a cockroach scene in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is, again, this is another crazy thing that happened when I watched the movie. I mean, not crazy, but odd.
Yeah.
I'm watching it and I'm going, Joe's Apartment. Why am I thinking Joe's Apartment? Film that came out a year previous. Griffin Dunn, producer on Joe's Apartment.
I did not know that.
There you go.
Yeah.
How about that for a connection?
Yeah, it's probably better than Joe's Apartment though. That film was just
Yeah.
yeah. So some reviews. I've got some reviews.
All right.
Okay, so I have got to see where this is from. My handwriting's terrible. One American review called it, and this was in the Chicago Sun. Immature, implausible, and imbecilic. 2 out of 4.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably would have given a similar review at the time.
Yeah, but 2 out of 4. I mean, what they've written, you'd expect a 1 out of... An out of 4, come on, do out of 5.
I know, I don't understand the 4
out of
thing.
4.
Is that Ebert? Because he used to do 4 out of 4.
Yep.
Is it right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. And the Los Angeles Times described it as creepy writing.
Yeah, that's the... Absolutely.
And one here from Andrew Johnson of Time Out. No artistic triumphs, certainly. But it is a reasonably entertaining big screen sitcom.
There you go. Yeah, that's again. But I'm completely with that as well.
Yeah, and David Sims, film critic, underrated, a personal favourite.
Nope.
Well, you're saying it's not one of his personal favourites.
Well, no, I mean, personally, he can think what he likes, but I don't agree.
Okay, yeah. So you don't agree it's underrated? Do you just think it's rated?
Yeah, it's definitely not an underrated. I don't think it's something that people aren't getting.
Yeah.
I think people get it. For the majority of people understand where you are with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, it's 34.2 million it made.
Yeah.
£2.90 of that would have been me at the Ipswich Odeon going on a matinee show, and so
well done.
I'm very proud of myself.
You should be.
Yeah. So, anything else you'd like to add? I mean, I would ask you for your rating out of 5 on it.
Yeah, 2.
But you just said you give it 2 out of 4.
No, but I wouldn't because I'm not Ebert. But
okay.
2 out of 5.
So I'm putting it up to 2.5 because you said that.
I don't do halves.
I know. I know. I work at a pub. So one thing I will say though is thank you for watching it.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
You give it a 2.
Yeah.
I was going to give it a 3.5, but I don't do half, so I'm giving it a 4.
No.
So it's got an average rating of 3,
which is
pretty much
what we've been saying.
Yeah,
other people have been saying. Yeah,
yeah. So that's good. You gave me 2 films to watch to do podcasts about.
Oh,
and I have watched them. And that
was ages ago.
Yeah, I know. So what we'll do, we won't this episode, but next time I get you on, I'll do the usual, give you a film, and then we'll spend a good 10-15 minutes talking about either of these films. Is that fair dues? I need to revise myself.
Oh, yeah,
film.
right. So, yeah.
What were films?
Right, so Eating Raoul and Lost in America.
Yeah, 2 American comedies.
American comedies from the 80s, yeah.
Yeah, so perfect for this.
Yeah. But I suppose you'd say a little different, because a smaller budget, I'd say.
Yeah.
Than some of the...
We don't know the budget of this
Well,
film.
that's true. I mean, this could have been tiny.
This could have been filmed Bowfinger style in 2 flats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe Kelly Preston didn't know she was in it.
Oh, that made it even worse.
But just talk about Kelly Preston because she's missed a good actress, I think.
Yeah.
I always know her from Friend Twins.
Twins, yes. I mean, I was never, to be perfectly honest, I was never a fan.
Never a fan?
No, not overly, not really,
she was in some good, 80s...
Yeah.
What was that film she was in? Mischief. Do you remember Mischief?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just never really taken by her, really, as an actor.
Well, I think... she always sort of plays smaller roles.
Oh,
she was
certainly,
the looker in 80s films. And in the 90s, Jerry Maguire was a big hit and won Oscars, and she was in that. And I think after that film, she was pushed. And she was in this, which didn't do very well. And she was also in The Holy Man with Eddie Murphy and Nothing to Lose with Tim Robbins. So this is not her worst film.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah, have you seen The Holy Man?
Yeah.
Well done. Eddie Murphy, what all went wrong? That's my only impression.
That's a good one.
I did the same one for Greavesy from Saint and Greavesy. It's the same laugh.
Brilliant.
2 completely different people. There's a duo.
Yeah, Murphy
and Greavesy, partners in crime. So yeah, we've I mean, I don't know. She had one of those careers where she was always never top billing.
No.
And if this had been a darker, better film, maybe her career might have gone a bit, a bit better.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I married to John Travolta.
Yeah.
Sadly died a couple of years ago, breast cancer.
Her last film, I forget what it's called. I think it's called Off the Rails, something with Sally Phillips, a British.
Yeah.
That was all right. But one of those, she was always the best friend type character, and she was basically always this character, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Shame, but she died too young.
That was a part of this movie that I found, again, another thing I suppose slightly annoying, was that I felt that she was underplayed throughout the film. Like, her role was sort of like, where is she in this film?
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
No.
So.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
Any films you've watched recently that you think are underrated and should deserve cult status?
Coneheads.
Well, that will be an episode either before or after this. I don't know when it's going to go out with Robin Dicker, and might even have a little. You might even have a little cameo on that,
good
episode.
Yeah,
if you're lucky. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Find us on the socials. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Just type in ACM's Vault of Cult. Follow us on Spotify, give us a review, a good one, be nice, and it might help get more listeners and stuff. Comment on everything, talk to us, talk to me, talk to everybody about these films. Let's get talking about Addicted to Love, the 3-star movie.
The 3-star movie.